Hey there. So, what are some signs of a toxic relationship? What are some signs that your relationship might not be healthy for you? Let's look at 50 signs right now, and we'll just go through them and I'll just read them and talk a little about each one. And if you guys have anything you want to say or any questions, go ahead and hit me up in the chat. So, hey everyone. Okay, 50 signs. Let's go. Number one, you're walking on eggshells. You know what that's like when you have you spend your life tiptoeing around somebody else's moods and tempers and you do anything you can to keep the peace all the time. You're walking on eggshells no matter what happens, okay? So that's number 1. Number 2, you are confused in any conflict because it feels like your reality is being twisted. We know what that is. That's gaslighting, right? You're being gaslit. You feel like in any conversation, not even arguments, in any situation where there's an opinion you have, a debate you have, something that you experienced, something you did, it's twisted. It's twisted, it's twisted, it's twisted, and you're confused because you're like, where's reality? All right. So, or maybe you're not confused, but you're frustrated, right? So, number 3, you are required to have a need for constantly checking in and are basically punished or given silence or some other form of lack of understanding if you don't check in. So you're required to constantly let this other person know every detail of everything you're doing at any given time. But it's not reciprocated. Okay. Number 4, you feel sad when your partner jokes with you. All the jokes are mean spirited, right? And here, I just want to say before we keep going, every relationship can have little bits of this sprinkled into it. The difference is with all of this stuff we're going to talk about here, you can't talk about it with the other person. You can't say, "Hey, I don't like it when you joke with me like that." And they can say, "Oh my gosh, that is my humor. I'm sorry. Uh let me find a way to not do that." And then they actually try to stop doing that, or they catch themselves and go, "Oh, that felt mean again. I should stop that." That doesn't happen in these situations. So while everybody in relationships on occasion might walk on eggshells once in a while, when you're in something that is not good for you and is unhealthy and toxic, you're walking on eggshells the majority of the time. So, what we're talking about here are the signs of things that are repeated, continual, wearing you down, and that feels like that's what your relationship is based on. Does that make sense? So, just because you see some of these signs doesn't mean you're in something necessarily toxic. But if you see lots of these signs and you see it repeating and you know the feeling, you'll start to feel validated and when you're hearing all of this and you'll feel maybe like you can accept that it's maybe not the best thing for you all of a sudden, right? Okay. So, number 5. You apologize even when you did nothing wrong. Again, you've been gaslit. You've been gaslit and they've been projecting so much on you that you simply apologize either to make it better or you truly do believe you're at fault. A lot of people, and I hear this from men a lot in particular, women too, of course, but I do hear this a lot from male survivors, that they are constantly feeling like legitimately like they're the ones at fault for everything that's done. And because the narcissist is so good at twisting the words to make you believe it is your fault. Women also have that experience that as well. I'm just saying, I do hear that a lot from the guys. So, number 6, you fear hot and cold treatment. So you're always trying to fix things all the time. You're always trying to keep the positive up. You can't handle any mundane, boring, blah days like you would have in a normal, healthy relationship. They happen, right? But you can't handle them in these situations because it basically means you're having silent treatment done to you, or the other shoe's going to drop when they are up. You just are waiting for the bad. And we get as survivors where we think this is happening when it's not. So this alone wouldn't be a red flag to me. It could be a red flag of oneself and how we're perceiving things. But this in combination with, especially with the first one, walking on eggshells, is saying something's off, right? And good morning to everyone. Hello. So, number 7, hypervigilance over the other person's states of being. So, really, really focusing all your time and attention on the other person's feelings of, especially their negative feelings, worrying about not their feelings, their states of being, their moods, and trying to fix that, trying to smooth their moods all the time, right? Number 8, you feel like your partner is not seeing good in you at all and and will belittle your accomplishments. You feel diminished. You feel like all they see is the bad in you, and they're just devaluing all the time. Number 9, you feel like you are having sex against your will, um, or else they won't love you, or something like that, or else they'll leave, or else they'll cheat. You feel like you're being manipulated in the bedroom. Okay, and you may not recognize it as manipulation, but there's a feeling of coercion or um, things aren't going real well, but they are still after you in that way, sort of like you feel like you're being used and objectified, right? Okay, number 10, you're made to feel dirty or wrong for wanting any intimacy with that person. Um, yeah. So that goes without saying, right? I don't need to say more. Um, you number 11, you've lost uh you've lost your ability intimately in any intimacy in the SEX department to be connected. If you disassociate, well, during that, not from something from triggering from your own past, because that can happen with situations where people have had trauma around that. But it's like it came out of nowhere, and if you feel numb emotionally when you used to feeling connected there, something's off, right? Number 13, you're making excuses and rationalizing the behavior that the other person is doing that is not kind or fair or equitable in the relationship. In other words, the toxic things they're doing, you're making excuses. Well, they had a really hard childhood and I can see why they have to be this way. Well, I understand that they have are having a hard time at work and so they get really, hostile when they're at home. Well, this bothers them and so you see you making excuses instead of holding them up to being accountable, which as we know, if they're narcissistic, they won't anyway. They won't take accountability. So, it's one of the reasons we do it. It's enabling the uh, toxic behavior, but it's also because we're trauma bonded and we're not aware that that's what we're doing when we're doing it, right? We're just thinking we're trying to understand them, and because we do empathize with it. All right. Okay. So number 14, you dread things like holidays and birthdays because the sabotage is coming. They sabotage those days, right? Number 15, you feel your insecurities are used against you. You feel, I don't even want to say insecurities, your vulnerabilities. You feel like when you share something, it gets used against you. I talked about this in the video the other day about going to therapy with a narcissist, and it's one of the more dangerous things emotionally for you because you're revealing your vulnerabilities, and you start revealing your vulnerabilities, they'll use them against you. And this is a big one for me to say that I think it is a really telling one, that you're with someone beyond just toxic, maybe narcissistic, right? When they will literally take anything that you have told them in confidence and trust and turn it against you. It's pretty bad. Okay, number 16, you are desperately trying to get the old relationship back, get back to the beginning. And I say this a lot too. We all want the beginning. The beginning is fun. The beginning is light. There's no conflict. There's no issues. There's no, it's the idyllic stage of any relationship. When you're with someone toxic, that beginning was love bombing and grooming. It wasn't idyllic. It was a lie. It was a lie because they're wearing a mask and they're not being themselves. The difference is if you're with someone who is themselves and who isn't trying to manipulate you to like them and who is not there to seek your supply, their form of what we would call love bombing, which would be more like just excitement and enthusiasm for this new relationship, it isn't a lie. It's just the excitement. Does that make sense? And yes, that fades, it changes, turns into mature love. If you are with someone who is not toxic, if you're with someone toxic, it goes away and it becomes a cycle. Love bombing and devaluing. So if you're with someone toxic, you will notice that you are constantly trying to be better, to be more, to stop being not enough in order to get it back to the way it was in the beginning. And you may even say, you may even see them seek new supply and say, wait, how come they can do it with that person? That person must be better than me. No, watch what I posted yesterday on New Supply. It isn't the case. They were just grooming that new person. So the beginning that we're trying to get back to was love bombing. It was grooming when you're with someone toxic. And while the desire to get back there is strong, there is nowhere to get back to except to a lie, right? So sadly, we'll move on here. Okay. Number 17, you are soothing the abuser or the toxic person after the mistreatment. So in other words, you're trying to make them feel better after they've been so vile to you. Yep. Okay. Number 18, you can't talk about the issues within the relationship. You don't have anywhere to go to talk about it, or you try to talk about it to friends and you can't, or you don't even know how to talk about it, or it's just very difficult to find a place. It's not like you can say, hey, this is going on with me and my partner and people understand, right? So it's very hard to talk about. Number 19, you're shamed about any quality you may have that they used to value. So they're devaluing you and they're shaming you for things they used to like about you. Number 20, you feel like conversation is shut down and you are never heard. I have an example. I sat and listened to one talk about their friends and they're this and they're that and blah, 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 self-important. And I tried to relate just because it was not personal. It didn't matter, but I know this person's narcissistic. So I was just trying to relate for a minute to kind of like end the conversation and say, okay, bye, see you later. And this isn't a personal relationship. So, it didn't matter that they did this. It was kind of funny to me. And the second I said, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah. I had a similar story and it was like the quickest, shortest 3-sentence story. They couldn't even listen to 3 sentences. They turned around and walked away. And I thought, oh my gosh, there it is. Yeah. They shut you down. They don't listen. So, okay. It's not funny when it's in a relationship. That's the point. Okay. 20, you feel like you are being treated nicer when you're not alone with the person. You feel like they gush all over you. They build you up. They put you on a pedestal. They parade you around. You know what I mean? When they're in public, when they're around their friends. And when you get alone, it's a whole nother face. We're talking about communal narcissists, the covert narcissists there. It's what they do. All right. Number 22, you are begging them to talk, or you're fawning to end the silence. So you're having the silent treatment given to you, and you find yourself begging them or fawning at them, meaning you're pleading, you're people pleasing, you're doing anything you can to be exactly what they want in that moment. You're giving them all sorts of supply in that form. That it doesn't feel good when you're doing it, and you notice, and that is a sign you're in something pretty toxic. All right. You're being told, number 23, you feel like, and you're being told that you're too sensitive. Too sensitive. You take everything too personal. All right. Number 24, you can't express true feelings because they'll belittle, minimize, ignore, or neglect you. Number 25, you are jealous and you never were before. They so many of them set up this jealousy pattern in their partners because they need the supply of you fighting for them. They want you to chase them. They want you to feel insecure. They want you right on the tipping edge of your own insecurity so that they can control the situation and so that they can control and manipulate that you won't leave. Backwards, but that's what it is. Okay. Number 26, you feel like you're being compared to everybody else. Number 27, you are cut off and isolated from your friends, family, things you enjoy, your activities you love, anything you like that is part of who you are, you're cut off from it. Number 28, you're constantly protecting their ego. So again, it's like walking on eggshells, but more specifically toward building them up. Number 29, you feel totally and solely responsible for making things good. You're out there. How many of you have spent more hours than you can count researching different reasons this relationship could be going bad? How many of you have looked into your own side of things before accusing the other person? Or even as you're saying maybe it's them, but then you're like, well, maybe it's me. Oh, I know, I'm codependent. I'll fix those traits. Oh, I know, I have attachment issues. I'll fix that. Oh, I have anxiety. I should fix that. How many of you have been doing the self-work and taking responsibility for the entire relationship? That's a sign something's really out of balance, right? Okay, 30. You feel like you are what did I say here? Uh, oh, you feel like you're the one who's toxic. I can't read I'm like, what is that? It says, looks like it says duster. It doesn't. You feel like you're the toxic one. You're told that you're the toxic one. You're told that you're even told you gaslight. You're told you stop projecting on me. You're told they learn the words, they throw them at you. They may even call you narcissistic. All right. Number 31, anxiety. You have high anxiety. You're always anxious. There's a sign there's just a lot of stress in your life. That's a sign there's some, not always, some of us are just anxious people, but anxious people under stress with high levels of cortisol have high anxiety. Okay. So, in combination with these other things, definitely something's up. Number 32, you have body pain and tension. Some people will realize that suddenly their body hurts all the time. They're diagnosed with things like fibromyalgia or chronic fatigue only shortly, like a year or so into relationships like this. And they never was there before. All right. Number 33, you feel you are not enough and you can't satisfy within the relationship. That shouldn't be there, right? We have to work on our own self-worth and our own feelings of feeling like we're not enough. But then there's also people devaluing us that creates that feeling. So you have to assess on that one whether it is you or whether it is the relationship itself. And if you have all the up to number 33, if you have the majority of those, pretty much guaranteed there's a big piece of the relationship causing you to feel not enough, right? Okay. If you don't, if you only have like one or two, then maybe it is your past and it's something you can work on in yourself, right? All right, 34. Everything feels like competition with them. Oh, my head hurts. My head hurts worse. Anything, all of it. Oh, okay. Number 35. Things you love, you hate doing around them. Your joy is killed. There's two things that happens here. They not only will sabotage your joy in many ways, and we can go into that another time, but they not only sabotage the good things, but when we are living a life of dissociation from the toxic behaviors that are happening to us from the hurt, when we have to shut down parts of our emotions in order to cope, when we're living in a state of survival and coping, it's not just the bad stuff you're filtering out, it's the good too. So we start to numb up across the board with our emotions, right? And so things we used to enjoy don't have the same pleasure anymore. Life doesn't have the same excitement and pleasure anymore. Okay. And that's because we're shutting down. Well, it's because of the hurt, and also we're shutting down and dissociating from the hurtful stuff. But unfortunately, it also means the good stuff gets shut out too, that we feel. Okay. Unless it relates to them because they are controlling the situation, which is controlling our brain chemistry. All right. Number 36, you're afraid to make decisions alone. You don't even trust a decision that's really simple. And again, that can linger for a long time after being with a toxic person. If you were raised in a toxic situation or have a lot of abuse or abandonment in your past, you can have that happen. But again, in combination with these other things, and you're afraid to make a decision because it makes you feel like you're walking on eggshells because you might be wrong. Yep. Okay. So then it's that. It's that, and it's also something you're going to have to work on when you get out of the situation. Something you're going to have to repair in yourself for most people. Okay. So don't feel like something's broken and wrong with you when you're like, but I've been out 2 years, and yes, those boxes are all ticked, but I still can't make a decision. Yes, that's totally what happens, and we have to learn how to trust ourselves again. And that takes a lot of self care. Why can't we just walk away? Let me finish this and I will answer that. We're trauma bonded. That's the simple answer, but we'll talk about that. Um, Number 37. Is that right? Yeah. You can't identify boundaries. You don't even know what boundaries are in the relationship. You can't, like, even if you're a person with good boundary setting skills, right? And pretty good at it. And you're in a relationship with someone toxic, the lines get blurrier and blurrier and fuzzier until you can't identify where they are. And if you're a person that's not really good at setting them, well, then you don't even know where they are, right? All right. Whereas in a healthy relationship, you kind of do. You kind of know your partner's boundaries too, and you try not to push too hard into them. And yeah. Number 38, you feel responsible for their emotional health, and they may even threaten self-harm or worse. So not only are you walking on eggshells, but you are literally responsible for whether or not they take their next breath. Okay? That's how you're feeling. That's being held hostage, emotionally hostage, right? Number 39, you can't pursue your dreams. You try, you can't. You can't even sometimes come up with them, right? You lose your sight on that. Number 40, you've lost yourself. You don't know who you are. Yes, that can happen. Oh, you know what? I said 50, but I only have 40 written down. So we'll do 40, and I'll have to change that. Or maybe let's think of 10 more. Anybody got any? What else? What are other signs you're in a toxic relationship? We'll go without reading here. Um, let's see. You are crying all the time. Yeah, that can happen at any stage in life. But again, listen to the other list, the whole list. If you've got the majority and you're crying all the time, yeah, you are hiding things from friends. You number that would be 41, 42, 43. You make plans with people that you break because you never know if your partner is gonna sabotage, right? You I'm making up. I'm thinking of seven more. That was 43. Seven more reasons, seven more things that might happen. Ways of knowing you're in a toxic relationship. Um, oh yeah, here's one. You're waiting to see what the other person wants to do to make plans, and so as not to upset anything. You can't even make plans for your own day without waiting for them. Oh, here's another one. You're always waiting. You're always waiting. You spend more of your life waiting, accommodating, and waiting for the other person. In combination with all that other stuff, they're manipulating your time. That was what? That was 43, 44. Let's go 40. Let's call this 45. Okay. Sorry about that. Um, oh, good one. You're sleep deprived because they don't let you sleep. You're deprived because there's so much stress in your relationship you can't sleep. But not only that, when you do fall asleep, they wake you up. They won't let you sleep. They control your sleep. Sleep. Okay. Number 46. You are being financially controlled. Either they are using your money and draining you dry, right? Or they've got you financially dependent on them and control everything. And so now you can't leave because you are financially dependent on them. Number 48, 47. They use your faith against you. They will take your faith, twist the words, gaslight you with the words of your own beliefs and faith, and throw them at you.
Mom,
I'm in the middle of something.
it's important.
What happened?
I think some of the dogs got gum.
Can you fix it?
No, I think they ate it.
Okay, I'll be right there. Well, I gotta go take care of dogs now. So number 48. What? Give me two. For kids and dogs. No kidding. Okay. What are we saying here? Any other? Do you guys have any? I need two more signs of a toxic relationship because I wrote down 40 and I said 50. So, oh, good one. Rhonda, you're on it. They will put a third person in your relationship to triangulate you. All kinds of triangulation. Number 49, the flying monkeys. They don't have to be out of your life to have flying monkeys. You can still be in the relationship and they're using it's a form of triangulation, same thing, but they'll use people to gain information and then they'll turn against you. Oh, good one. Number 50. Well, I'm with future faking. They're always telling you things that they don't actually live up to. All right. And you get your hopes up and they let you down. They get your hopes up and they let you down. And it's from everything from little things to big things. All right. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to who were supposed to get married for years and kept having it called off. Right. And that's a big one. So, okay. What are we saying here? Sleeping in your clothes. Be ready for to go to moment's notice. Yeah. Okay. So that's a lot of signs of being in a toxic relationship that you might be experiencing. And if you are, then it's time maybe for you to start accepting what's going on so that you can get yourself to safety and get yourself out and have a healthy life. Right. And with that said, I mean, as always, you can check out the info in the main description. There's information on coaching or group coaching if you need it, or if you need a resource for peer support, check us out over on Facebook in the Spanily group. Lots of help there. So, okay, I'm going to why do we stay? Why don't we just walk away? I'm going to answer that and then I got to go. Why don't we walk away? Why don't we walk away? Number one, we're invested. We're invested in this relationship. Oftentimes we don't see all of these signs for quite a while. By that time, we're highly invested in the relationship and we think we can fix it. We think that it's us. The reasons that we stay are embedded in the things that are going on, right? Each one of those things, walking on eggshells, makes you have a purpose it's not even a purpose, it's a function. We get hyper vigilant toward the relationship and our whole focus becomes that relationship. Without it, we're nothing. That's scary. Okay. We also are trauma bonded. When we're trauma bonded, we are literally addicted to that other person. We're addicted to the cycle of the love bombing and the devalue. As weird as that sounds, it is true. We don't walk away because we can't accept that the person truly doesn't have empathy. We can't accept that. How could someone be that way? We spend more time trying to figure them out than just seeing what's happening and stepping away from it. We've lost our self-esteem. We've lost our self-worth. All kinds of reasons are mixed up in why we don't stay. And each person has their own sort of place they go with that. I talk to people all the time asking me this question, why can't I let go? Okay. And it takes time. It takes time for a lot of people. And you'll get there if you keep working at it. So I'm going to go take care of what's going on out there and I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Bye.